Hello, everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital Gossip. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Willow, the mastermind behind Drew's shooting, shocks Port Charles? General Hospital sees Drew Kane Quartermain, Cameron Matheson, is going to live, despite half of Port Charles and most of the fandom wanting him dead. But now I'm wondering, based on some recent hints and Easter eggs in the episodes, whether Willow Tate, Caitlin McMullen, might be the mastermind behind his shooting. We're going to talk about some of the red flags that point to Willow as the shooter who might have put 2 bullets into Drew so that she could frame Michael Corinthos, Rory Gibson, in a 2 birds 1 stone plot. General Hospital shooting. The investigation heats up. Right now, Anna Devane, Finola Hughes, Harrison Chase, Josh Swickard, and Dante Falconeri, Dominic Zamprogna, are hot on the trail of who shot Drew, and Michael is one of those at the top of the list. Willow is too, but I think they are more intent on Michael. And they're about to be digging into Curtis Ashford, Donnell Turner, and others soon. Drew is awake. And he really wants Michael to go down for it. But it would be wild if it's somebody much closer to home and much closer to Drew's heart who shot him. Willow's sudden change of heart, a red flag? The first thing is Willow went from furious at Drew, blaming him for losing her kids and sleeping with her mom, to now being willing to get back with him. That's a very abrupt reversal. Sure, it could be because she believes Drew will get the kids back. But then again, maybe Willow has a plan to punish Drew for letting her down and for Michael taking her kids, a plan that would punish both Drew and Michael. Unaccounted whereabouts. Willow's missing alibi. The second thing is Willow was out in the rain. She was soaking wet. And her whereabouts were unaccounted for when Drew was shot. Lucas Jones, Van Hansis, was looking for Willow at the hospital because she was on shift and was nowhere to be found, and Elizabeth Baldwin, Rebecca Herbst, was covering for her, even though Lucas advised Elizabeth not to do that. The third thing is we know Willow has no real alibi for Drew's shooting. Nina Reeves, Cynthia Watrose, said they were out for a walk together, but the cops don't seem to buy it. Willow suspected that Nina was just looking to get an alibi for herself. But the fact of the matter is, nobody knows where Willow was when Drew was shot. Willow ditched her shift in the middle of work and then she came back waterlogged on a very rainy night. She might have headed over there and put 2 bullets in her estranged fiancé as part of a wicked plot. Willow's suspicious reaction to Drew's shooting. A fourth thing that caught my eye was how Willow was behaving when she supposedly was hearing for the first time from Chase that Drew had been shot. Willow was distraught. She was shaking and she asked Chase if Drew was going to make it. Willow is a nurse who works at General Hospital, so it seems like she would know more than Chase or could easily find out about Drew's prognosis. In a way, I felt like maybe Willow was being performative, or she was hysterical because she thought she'd killed him with those 2 bullets and was a little worried. When Willow then talked to Lucas, we saw this fear in her eyes, but that might have been fear that Drew would die, or maybe fear that he wouldn't die. The photo on the mantle, a clue to the shooter? The fifth thing on my mind about this is the last thing Drew saw, the last thing he was looking at just before he got shot, was the photo on the mantle of him and Willow in happier times. He had just gone and gotten her engagement ring out of the safe, technically the same ring that Michael had given her because it's a Quartermain heirloom. But it could have been a hint that the woman Drew was staring at in the photo was the woman who was also behind him with a gun. If indeed Willow is the one who shot Drew, I think it's not just residual anger over losing her kids in court, it might be something a little more diabolical. A plan that Willow cooked up to get rid of Drew, who has ruined her life. And to also make sure Michael doesn't wind up with the kids. What I'm wondering is if Willow, Caitlin McMullen, shot Drew, did she do it knowing it would implicate Michael? I think so. Willow's desperation, a motive for murder? Willow might have cooked up this plan right after Chase told her that Judge Heron was dead, which would lower her chances of getting visitation with Wiley Quartermain Corinthos, Viren Weaver, and Amelia Grace Corinthos, Sequoia and Serenity Mork Mako. Willow might have felt this urgency to change the narrative. Plus, Drew's threats about the judge being bribed weren't making any headway with anybody to get her visitation. At that point, Willow was completely desperate to make sure that she wasn't kept apart from her kids permanently. Getting both Drew and Michael out of the way could make it happen. Drew's frame-up plan, Willow's hidden agenda? Now that Drew is conscious, he is already thinking how to spin this to help Willow. It's not like Drew would ever suspect that Willow would shoot him. So, she may just be rolling with this twist and making the best of Drew surviving the 2 bullets. That could be why Willow easily agreed to Drew's plan to frame Michael for shooting him, whether he did it or not, because that might have been Willow's plan all along. Drew said that's best for Willow. And he plans to conveniently get back his memory that Michael was in his house and is the shooter. Drew said he would do that when the timing is right. Willow told Drew she's on board if it's going to help her get her kids back. But again, this might have already been Willow's plan. She might be a step or two ahead of Drew and was already plotting Michael's downfall, Michael's blood work. Also, remember Willow is a nurse. And they made a big deal of Michael being up at the hospital for routine blood work. Willow might also be planning to keep up with another of Drew's plots to make Michael look like an addict. That routine blood work can't be for nothing, or why would they even mention it? When Drew mentioned, more than a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, about using Portia Robinson, Brooke Kerr, to frame Michael as an opioid addict, Willow was totally on board then. So, she might be doing that. Jacinda's alibi, a setup for Michael? What's interesting is Jacinda Bracken, Paige Herschel, was caught out with Drew, Cameron Matheson, when he was on ketamine. And now, very conveniently, Jacinda just happens to be Michael's alibi for the shooting when we all know he was near Drew's house that night, all alone, thinking mean thoughts. If you recall, Jacinda told Michael she came back to Port Charles to blackmail Drew. She didn't mention Portia and Nina, which is where she went to ask for money. So maybe that part of what Jacinda said is true. Or maybe Willow contacted Jacinda and offered to pay her to help pull off this scheme. Willow might have planned when she would shoot Drew and set up Jacinda to run into Michael, knowing he'd need an alibi for the shooting. Willow might have even paid Jacinda to drop some drugs into Michael's drink when he wasn't looking so his drug test would show positive for opioids or something like that. Using Jacinda for an alibi could make him look really bad, especially if he pops positive on a drug test since Drew was caught doing drugs with Jacinda. That would show a pattern of behavior of partying and doing drugs with wealthy men. That would make Michael look very bad in court. And his alibi could be called into question. Dante already doubts it. And Willow's lawyer saying that Michael was using drugs and hanging out with hookers could totally turn this custody case in Willow's favor. Willow's devious nature, a family trait? If you think that she can't be this devious, think again. The mom that raised her, Harmony Miller, Inga Cadranel, was diabolical. And Willow has that terrible, rotten DNA that Nellie Benson, Chloe Lanier, and Nina have that was passed down from awful Madeline Reeves, Donna Mills. Yes, I think Willow is more than capable of concocting a plan and putting a couple of bullets in Drew's back while setting up Michael. We know Willow would do anything to be with her kids, but does that include murder and a frame job, or at least attempted murder? Soap operas thrive on twists that nobody sees coming. And General Hospital has a long-standing reputation for shocking fans just when they least expect it. The latest buzz from Port Charles has the entire fandom reeling. Could it be possible that Willow Tate, the sweet nurse, the devoted mother, and the seemingly moral compass of the Corinthos clan, is hiding a jaw-dropping secret? Yes, whispers are swirling that Willow may have been the mastermind behind Drew Kane's shocking shooting. And if this theory proves true, it would turn Port Charles upside down, reshape every relationship she has, and permanently rewrite her image from sympathetic heroine to soap opera anti-heroine. Let's dive into the speculation, the clues, and the fallout that could shake General Hospital to its very core. Drew's shooting, what we know. Drew Kane's shooting stunned Port Charles. He has always been one of the most loyal men in town, a father devoted to Scout, a dependable friend to Curtis and Sam, and recently, a rock for Carly. When Drew was ambushed, the immediate suspects were the usual players, mobsters seeking revenge, Valentine or Victor Cassadine loyalists left over from the ashes of their schemes, or even Sonny's enemies using Drew as collateral damage. But what if the truth is far closer to home? What if Drew's shooter wasn't an outsider but someone no one ever suspected? That's where the shocking Willow theory comes in, and fans online are buzzing with clues that point directly at her. The case against Willow. Clues and speculation. At first glance, Willow seems like the least likely suspect in Drew's shooting. She's a nurse, she just survived leukemia, and she's been painted as the perfect daughter, wife, and mother. But in soap operas, the least likely suspect is often the one pulling the strings. Here are the key hints fueling the Willow theory. 1. The hidden resentment toward Drew. For months, Willow has been caught in a storm between Drew and Carly. Drew's closeness to Carly, not just as a business partner but emotionally, has rubbed Willow the wrong way. Though she's never said it aloud, her loyalty to Michael and her resentment of anything that could jeopardize their family's stability might have boiled over. Did Willow fear that Drew's drama would pull Carly, and by extension, Michael, into dangerous territory? 2. The Scout factor. Willow's relationship with Scout has always been complicated. Drew's devotion to his daughter has sometimes left Willow feeling overshadowed, particularly as Michael struggled with the balancing act of fatherhood between Wiley and Amelia. Could Willow have secretly feared that Drew's custody battles or lingering personal issues would threaten her own carefully constructed family unit? 3. Willow's personality shift post-leukemia. Fans have noticed a dramatic shift in Willow's demeanor since she survived her harrowing leukemia battle. Once timid and meek, she's become far more assertive, and in some moments, even cold. Could this transformation signal a darker side that no one realized existed? Soap operas love to use medical traumas as turning points for characters, and Willow's illness may have triggered a hidden ruthless streak. 4. The opportunity. As a nurse at General Hospital, Willow has access to resources and information others don't. If she wanted to cover her tracks or create an alibi, she's in the perfect position. She could easily manipulate medical reports, timing, or even enlist the help of someone vulnerable to do her dirty work without anyone suspecting. Why would Willow do it? The big question remains, why would Willow want Drew gone? In soap opera land, motives are everything. Here are the most likely reasons behind such a shocking twist. Protecting Michael and Wiley, Willow may have believed Drew was becoming a liability, dragging Michael into unnecessary mob-related or legal danger. By removing Drew, she may have thought she was safeguarding her family's future. Jealousy over Carly. Willow and Carly's relationship has had its ups and downs. Carly often puts Drew first, sometimes even over Michael, which may have left Willow feeling insecure. Could jealousy over Carly's bond with Drew have driven Willow to extremes? Secret alliance. What if Willow isn't working alone? Some fans speculate that she could be working with a hidden player, perhaps someone connected to the Cassadines or even Agent Cates. If true, Willow's shooting mastermind role could be part of a larger, more sinister plan. The new Willow, post-leukemia, Willow may not be the same person. Soap operas love to hint at personality changes after near-death experiences. Could she be darker now, capable of plotting something like this without blinking? The fallout in Port Charles. If Willow is indeed unmasked as the brains behind Drew's shooting, the fallout would be catastrophic. Let's break it down by characters. Michael would be devastated. His entire identity revolves around loyalty, family, and trust. To learn that his wife, the woman he defended through cancer, who he saw as a perfect mother, orchestrated the shooting of his uncle Drew would shatter him. Would Michael turn her in, or would he protect her at the cost of his own conscience? Carly Spencer. Carly's world would crumble. Drew has been her anchor, and Willow has been her daughter-in-law she once tried to protect. The betrayal of discovering Willow behind Drew's suffering would ignite Carly's fury. Fans can already imagine the Carly versus Willow showdown, fiery, emotional, and devastating. Scout Kane. Scout has already endured so much, losing her father to imprisonment and then nearly losing him to violence. To learn that Willow, someone Scout trusted, was responsible would crush her. This could set up future storylines where Scout rebels against Michael and Willow's household, potentially aligning with Jason or Sam for protection. Nina Reeves. Imagine Nina's reaction. For once, Nina wouldn't be the villain, she'd be the vindicated mother. Nina has long warned that Willow isn't as pure as she seems. If Willow's secret dark side comes to light, Nina would finally have the upper hand, and it would blow the mother-daughter dynamic wide open. Sonny Corinthos. Sonny would see Willow in an entirely new light. Having lost trust in people closest to him before, he wouldn't hesitate to question whether Willow was capable of other betrayals. Would Sonny protect Michael by covering up Willow's crimes, or would he take justice into his own hands? Fan reactions, social media buzz. Fans online are already abuzz with speculation. Some are horrified at the idea of Willow being rewritten into a villain, while others think it could be the bold, fresh shake-up the character desperately needs. Team Willow fans argue that she's been written too saintly for too long and needs an edge. Making her the shooter could give her a complex, morally gray storyline. Team Drew fans are outraged, insisting that Willow wouldn't dare hurt someone as loyal and kind as Drew. Many are pushing for the shooter to be revealed as someone connected to Victor Cassidy's remnants instead. Casual viewers are thrilled at the possibility, noting that shocking character shifts are what keep GH fresh and exciting. Could it all be a red herring? Of course, this is General Hospital. Nothing is ever straightforward. It's possible that the Willow as mastermind theory is a clever red herring planted by the writers. Maybe Willow is being framed for Drew's shooting, perhaps by Nina, Ava, or even Agent Cates. If so, the real drama would come not from her guilt but from how she clears her name. Another possibility. Willow could have been manipulated into participating without realizing it, providing information, covering up evidence, or being tricked by someone she trusted. That way, her hands wouldn't be entirely clean, but she wouldn't be the full-blown villain either. What this means for the future of GH. Whether Willow is guilty, framed, or complicit, this storyline could redefine the next chapter of General Hospital. If she is revealed as the mastermind, it would mark the start of her villain arc, putting her in direct opposition to Carly, Scout, and maybe even Michael. If she's framed, it launches a high-stakes investigation where Nina or Ava could play a central role. No matter what, Willow is at the heart of the drama now, and Port Charles will never look at her the same way again. Final thoughts. General Hospital thrives when it shocks its audience, and the idea of Willow being the mastermind behind Drew's shooting is the kind of twist that would set social media ablaze and leave fans glued to their screens. Whether true or a red herring, the whispers alone are enough to shake the very foundation of Port Charles. Is Willow really capable of such betrayal? Or is she being set up as the perfect fall girl while the true villain lurks in the shadows? One thing's for sure, in Port Charles, secrets never stay hidden for long. And when the truth comes out, it will change everything. Tuesday, September 16th recap. Willow threatens revenge on Nina, missing Outback discovered. General Hospital, GH recap for Tuesday, September 16th, reveals that Willow Tate, Caitlin McMullen, made a revenge threat on Nina Reeves, Cynthia Watrose, while missing Outback was discovered. Here's how Tuesday's exciting GH episode played out. On the pier, Jason Morgan, Steve Burton, assured Britt Westbourne, Kelly Thibault, that she still had a friend and vowed to find her a place to stay. Britt resisted at first, but she eventually agreed to let Jason help her, just for tonight. Meanwhile, Lulu Spencer, Alexa Havens-Bruning, complained to Brooke Lynn Quartermaine, Amanda Setton, about Britt's return and worried about Rocco Falconeri, Finn Carr, getting hurt if he tried to get to know her. Brooke Lynn offered a pep talk, so their truce held firm. At the Brown Dog Bar, Molly Lansing Davis, Kristen Vaganos, asked Elizabeth Baldwin, Rebecca Herbst, if she'd heard from Rick Lansing, Rick Hurst, but Liz hadn't other than the email about the digital detox retreat. Molly thought Rick's news was strange, but she hoped soul-searching would help and felt that Elizabeth was good for him. Unlike Ava Jerome, Maura West. Liz admitted things between Rick and Ava were over, so Molly explained Christina Corinthos Davis, Kate Monsey, schemed to get Cody Bell, Josh Kelly, to seduce Ava. After Elizabeth made it clear that Rick was only her friend, Molly assured her that she wouldn't push like Christina. Liz reflected on Rick hopefully making some positive changes and mentioned him taking Willow's case pro bono. At Ava's apartment, Christina showed up for another conversation about captive Rick. Ava made it look like Rick accidentally emailed a copy of the invoice with Nina's name on it to Willow, so she assumed Willow would tell Liz that he wasn't working for free after all. Once that happened, Ava felt confident that Elizabeth would want nothing to do with Rick. Lucas Jones, Van Hansis, eventually interrupted and wondered why Christina was at Ava's place, so Christina made up an excuse about picking Avery Corinthos, Ava and Grace Scarella, from dance class and quickly headed out. Lucas gave Ava updates on Britt's comeback and mulled over whether Brad Cooper, Perry Shen, might have been in on her faked demise. It left Lucas wondering if Brad used the situation to get his sympathy, but he couldn't trust Brad's answer if he confronted him. Although Lucas was adamant about moving forward with Marco Rios, Adrian and Chando, Ava basically suspected Brad wouldn't be able to stay away from Port Charles with Britt back in town. Since James West, Gary James Fuller, had a nightmare and could only be consoled by Cody, Felicia Scorpio, Christina Wagner, took her grandson to the stables. Cody comforted James and felt he was big enough to ride Comet now, so that brought a smile to James' face. Back at the Brown Dog Bar, Giovanni Gio Palmieri, Giovanni Mazza, got the bartender to accept some lost and found flyers for Outback. Gio also talked to Emma Scorpio Drake, Braden Bruner, about getting Sonny Corinthos, Maurice Bernard, to supply money for the reward. Emma eventually got a call and rushed out with Gio, but they came back disappointed since the person on the phone only found Outback's caller. Since Outback didn't have any identification on her now and wasn't microchipped, Emma felt that she'd failed her. Gio nearly kissed Emma as he moved in close to comfort her, but he ultimately pulled back and convinced her not to give up on finding Outback. Back at the stables, Christina stopped by to speak with Cody about Molly, but he argued that he was respecting her wishes to stay away. However, Christina felt that the cowboy protested too much and didn't seem willing to let this go. Later, Cody left his sandwich unattended for a moment and then noticed it was gone. Once Cody looked down, he found Outback munching on the stolen sandwich now that it was on the ground. At Nina's place, Willow arrived and mentioned Rick leaving for his digital detox retreat, but this was the first Nina was hearing about it. Willow seemed a bit skeptical and eventually admitted she knew Rick was actually working for Nina. After Nina admitted to paying Rick, she made it clear that she did it because Willow needed a solid attorney who could help get her kids back. However, Willow lashed out over Nina's deception and felt that she could take care of herself. Willow also mentioned Rick telling her to stay away from Drew Kane, Cameron Matheson, or risking losing her kids for good. Nina acknowledged that she was behind that warning, but she once again defended her efforts to help Willow. That led to a much bigger fight about the control Willow was still letting Drew have over her. Nina argued that Drew was the one manipulating Willow and complained about her daughter still blaming her along with other people. The truth was that Willow threw her life away for a terrible man, so Nina said Willow wasn't the first and wouldn't be the last. Nina griped about Willow always defending Drew, but Willow acted like things were different now. After more bickering, Willow finally snapped that if Drew was manipulating her, then Nina was the one who stood by and let it happen. Nina tried to play up the similarities between them as mother and daughter, but Willow insisted she was nothing like her mom. "You and your secrets and your lies have taken everything from me." "Well, maybe someone should do that to you," Willow said ominously before stomping out the door. General Hospital spoilers say Nina and Willow have more conflict ahead of them, so don't miss all the shockers that the following content is a fictional account based on a hypothetical episode of the television show General Hospital and does not reflect actual events. The information presented is a creative interpretation and is not intended to be a factual representation of the show. A Storm of Vengeance. Today's shocking General Hospital recap. Port Charles, September 16, 2025. The city by the bay was rocked by a series of explosive confrontations and a long-awaited discovery that left fans breathless. Today's episode of General Hospital was a masterclass in emotional warfare, with Willow's quiet rage finally erupting into a chilling threat of revenge against Nina, while a desperate search for a missing family member reached its startling conclusion. This recap will dive deep into every tense moment, every tearful confession, and the shocking events that have set the stage for an unforgettable week. The war for Willow's soul, Nina and Willow's vicious showdown. The air was thick with tension as Nina Reeves, Cynthia Watrose, and Willow Tate, Caitlin McMullen, faced off in what can only be described as a nuclear family confrontation. For months, the tenuous peace between mother and daughter has been a fragile facade, but today, that facade shattered into a million pieces. The catalyst. Nina's quiet, under-the-table manipulations. The scene began with Willow confronting Nina about an email she received from attorney Rick Lansing. Unbeknownst to Willow, Nina had hired Rick to represent her in her custody battle, a move she claimed was a selfless act of a mother trying to help her daughter. But Willow, ever suspicious of Nina's motives, saw through the ruse instantly. She accused Nina of trying to control her life, of using a lawyer to push her own agenda and, most damningly, of trying to drive a wedge between her and Drew. The argument escalated at a breakneck pace. Nina, for her part, was done with being the patient, long-suffering mother. She unleashed a torrent of pent-up frustration, accusing Willow of blind loyalty to Drew Kane, Cameron Matheson, and of throwing her life away for a terrible man. Nina's words were sharp, cutting right to the heart of Willow's vulnerabilities. She argued that Drew was the one with all the power, a criminal politician who had a history of getting away with everything, and that Willow was foolish to place her trust in him. The emotional climax arrived when Nina fired the ultimate salvo, accusing Willow of being just like her, someone who blames everyone else for her problems and refuses to take responsibility for her own failures. It was a vicious, low blow that hit its mark. But Willow, for once, didn't crumble. Instead, she stood tall and delivered a chilling counterpunch. With a steely resolve in her eyes, Willow declared she was nothing like her mother, a statement that seemed to break Nina's heart. But the most shocking part of the exchange came when Willow's anger morphed into a chilling promise. "You've taken everything from me," Willow said, her voice shaking with rage. "You've cost me so much. Someone should do that to you." It was a threat of revenge so raw and unexpected, it left Nina, and viewers, stunned. This wasn't the weeping Willow of old. This was a Willow who had reached her breaking point, a woman on the brink of seeking vengeance for every betrayal, every lie, and every secret Nina has ever kept. The fallout from this single, shocking threat will undoubtedly have ripple effects for weeks to come, as the battle for Willow's soul, and the future of her family, has just begun. The search for Outback, a shocking discovery. While the Quartermain mansion was the scene of emotional chaos, the search for the missing floppy-eared dog Outback was a race against time. The adorable pup's disappearance had left Gio and Emma distraught, and they spent the episode putting up missing dog flyers and desperately trying to find any clue. Their hope was dwindling, especially when a phone call brought devastating news. Someone had found Outback's collar. Emma was inconsolable, fearing the worst. Her desperation was palpable as she blamed herself for not having the dog chipped, a mistake she believed had sealed Outback's fate. Gio, always the steady rock, comforted her, but the despair was etched on both their faces. However, in a heart-stopping twist, the story took a turn no one saw coming. Just as Gio and Emma were about to give up, a stunning discovery was made. Cody, who had been comforting a troubled James at the Quartermain stables, stumbled upon a furry surprise. There, at the stables, was Outback. The joyous reunion was a beacon of light in an otherwise dark episode, a reminder that even in the most dramatic of circumstances, sometimes the simple act of a lost dog being found can bring the greatest relief. Rick's disappearance and Britt's return. The episode also saw several other storylines twisting and turning, setting up future conflicts. The mystery of Rick Lansing's disappearance deepened, with his daughter Molly pressing Liz about his whereabouts. Liz, who had received the same fabricated digital detox email from Rick that Ava and Christina had concocted, seemed to buy the story. However, Molly's probing questions, and her belief that Rick was rethinking his life and his relationship with Ava, planted a seed of doubt in Liz's mind. Meanwhile, Ava and Christina, believing their scheme to get Rick out of the picture had been a success, pushed forward with their plan. But their underestimation of Molly's love for her father could unravel their entire plot. Elsewhere, the shocking return of Britt Westbourne, Kelly Thibault, continued to send shockwaves through Port Charles. Her reunion with her mother, Liesl Albrecht, Kathleen Gotti, had been a disaster, leaving her with nowhere to go. On the pier, she had a tense but ultimately promising encounter with Jason Morgan, Steve Burton. Despite Britt's resistance, Jason offered his help, a gesture she was eventually forced to accept. The episode left viewers with the tantalizing possibility of a renewed connection between the two, as Britt, newly returned from the dead, finds herself leaning on the man she once shared an undeniable bond with. What's next for Port Charles? Today's General Hospital was a potent mix of high-stakes drama and emotional revelations. The Willow and Nina confrontation has irrevocably changed their relationship, and Willow's threat of revenge signals a new, darker chapter for her character. With Nina's lies exposed and Willow's rage unleashed, the battle for control over their family has escalated from a cold war to a full-blown conflict. Meanwhile, the search for Outback came to a happy end, but the larger web of deceit surrounding Rick Lansing's disappearance is just beginning to unravel. With Molly and Liz now sharing notes, it's only a matter of time before the truth comes to light. And as Britt finds herself in Jason's orbit once more, her return to the land of the living is proving to be just as dramatic and complicated as her fake death. In the world of General Hospital, the shocking news is never far away, and today's episode proves that the most captivating stories are often the ones that hit closest to home. The emotional devastation and surprising discoveries have set the stage for a week of must-see television, and viewers can only hold their breath and wonder what shocking twist will come next.